Hi everyone, I'm Edita Sitar from Laundry Basket Quilts. Welcome to Quilting Window. Before we begin, please remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can see more wonderful videos like this one. Today I would love to take the time and teach you a little bit about fusible applique. We're gonna make a beautiful pumpkin block. This quilt behind me have 30 blocks in it, and it is perfect for 10-inch squares. So if you have your favorite layer cake, roll it up in it and start making a beautiful quilt. Let's see what I prepare for you in our quilting basket. We're going to need a pattern. This pattern calls pumpkin, and in the pattern you find directions how to make the quilt as well as the design. We're going to need the outline for our applique to draw our pumpkins. So pattern first. Sometimes when I make a quilt like this and I have to repeat the same block over and over and over again, I love to use stencil. Stencil allow me to draw lines onto my fusible webbing without my hand shaking and making more accurate design. So this is gonna be perfect for this project. I have prepared a little bit of a fun fabrics for you girls. I have personally chose those. Those are 30 beautiful fat 8s, so our design will fit perfectly, and I call this roll a pumpkin roll. Oh, those are so yummy. Those are gonna be wonderful for our quilt. I also going to need a heat and bound fusible webbing. This is the one I chose for you today because heat and bound give me nice raw edges, and it is easy to trace and draw onto the paper that the fusible webbing is attached to it. I have a nice macro, non-stick needles, so they're perfect for applique, and I prepare an orifil thread. This thread number is 5013, and it is so sweet. Oh, it is gonna give you that black magic around the edges. It looks dark, but it is like a gray charcoal, and it's gonna work really nice around the edges of our applique. Can't wait to stitch with this one. I'm gonna use a small pencil to draw, and my 4.5-inch gingham scissors are my best helpers for today, and those are the few things that I have prepared for us. Let's start. I'm gonna put those things to the side for just a moment, and I'm gonna focus on our fusible webbing and our design. When you open the pattern, you're gonna notice in the pattern you have all of the pieces that you're going to trace from it right here. So all of those are the pieces. Those pieces are also on our templates. Make sure that you match your design for fusible applique. You're going to reverse the pieces. What that means is that you're gonna draw and then the pieces are reversed, so once you press them to the fabric, then they match the layout. So it's always nice to check from the drawing if your pieces are matching to the pattern if you're using a stencil. I'm gonna put those to the side a little bit, and I'm gonna grab my fusible webbing. I'm gonna place my stencil on it, and remember we talked about reversing. Did you see how quickly I can reverse with my stencil? I just flip that stencil right side up and turn it over, and I had my pieces reversed. I'm gonna position my stencil on a fusible webbing, and I'm gonna hold it with my hand, and I'm gonna start drawing my design, and I'm using just simple pencil. Remember, don't use the pen that disappear with a heat, because you're going to press this to fabric and you don't want those lines to disappear for you. So a basic pencil is just perfect. This is so much fun. Quickly, you can draw 30 of them for a beautiful quilt, or maybe 5 for a table runner. I'm going to draw every single piece that I need for one pumpkin, that low shadow, and my little stem right here, and I'm gonna draw it on one piece of fusible webbing just like this. Put those to the side. If you do 30 of them, of course you keep drawing, and sometimes what I like to do is when I have a design that I'm gonna cut out the center out of it, I don't want to waste this part, so when I draw I make sure I draw it inside those smaller pieces because I want to be frugal. Notice it, how much you're gonna save off the fusible webbing when you do that. But if you're not planning to cut out the middle, you want your project a little bit stiffer, then each piece have to be drawn separately. Now it's time to cut my pieces out. What I'm going to do is I'm gonna fold it gently, clip it, and now I can get my scissors into the inside of my design, and I'm gonna cut the design out. I'm staying 1/8, 1/4 inch, something like that, away from my drawing line. Why do I do this? Because I want to guarantee that my fusible webbing is on the edges of what I have drew. Wow, this is gonna be so much fun. Now I'm just cutting my pieces out, and I noticed something when I did the pumpkin, because pumpkin is a circular design. Sometimes when I draw my design, and when I clip those sides off, the pumpkin stretches and pulls it. So I like to keep my piece on the outside as with the corners like this, only cut out the center, and then when I lay it, it smooths it up and lays really nice onto the fabric. All right, we have 2 more pieces that we have to cut it out. Again, we're gonna stay at least 1/8 away from the edges. Wow, this is gonna be so much fun. And now just brainstorm and get excited about that pumpkin roll that you're gonna have to choose fabric from it and position your pieces right over. So rough cut it, stay away, at least 1/8 to 1/4 inch. The little leftovers, if you want it, you can save it for another project. The small pieces, I just throw it away. And now it's time that I can grab my fabric from my roll and start pulling my favorite piece to put those applique shape onto it. I'm going to make 30 pumpkins, so I'm going to use the pumpkin piece, the shadow, and the stem on every single fabric that I have. So that way I have 30 different colors. But then once I cut my pumpkins out, I'm gonna swap some of the stems and some of the shadows with another pumpkin. That gives me a fun variety. But to start, I'm gonna select the fabric. So for example, I'm gonna take this beautiful, oh, I want this yellow. Oh, that is so yummy. It reminds me of a Cinderella pumpkin. This is gonna be perfect. I'm gonna place it right over my fabric, and you can kind of play with the design, see where the colors are from the back, and we're gonna press it to the wrong side of the fabric, and we have those little 2 shadows. Remember, before you start putting your pieces down and iron them on, always press your fabric. So those gonna go here. And for pressing, I want to introduce you to something that I use quite often. What it's my very handy little ironing board. Oh, girls, I take this to classes with me. I use it in my house, in my studio. It's one of my favorite little things to use it. First of all, I can use the back to draw and trace on it. And then this side is perfect for fusible applique. For some reason, when I press it, the heat just sinks right into this and doesn't reflect and melt too fast my fusible applique shapes. So if you have not got one of those, get it for yourself. Those are really nice little ironing boards. So what I would do is first press my beautiful fabric. Then I would position my pieces just like this, and with a gentle touch of an iron, I would go ahead and from the top just press it down to secure my pieces in place. Now remember, your first pressing that you do, you need to do it nice and gentle. I just place my iron one, That's all. Don't do too much pressing. You don't want to fuse the paper forever and ever to your fabric. You only want to release the the fusible webbing away from the paper. So I already did this for us in my big ironing board, and look at it, how nice it looks. So all the 3 shapes that I need for my pumpkin are now beautifully pressed. What I'm going to do next is rough cut. I don't like to work with a big piece of fabric like this, so what I do is just cut this one piece for me, one, and then those 2, and now I can put the leftovers to the side for my next project. Really nice here. So what I'm going to do now, I'm gonna cut out my shape, and I want to show you something that is very important. When I'm cutting my shapes, I'm gonna keep my project in a V, in a pivot right here of my scissors, and I'm gonna make nice long cuts. I don't want you to cut with the tips of your scissors right here. I want you to make nice long cuts. Let's do it together. All right. So nice long cuts. Look at this. Nice. Yeah. Oh, this is so exciting. And this time I'm cutting exactly on the lines. And look at my scissors are moving. Nice long cut. Move your scissors. Nice long cuts. Why am I doing that? Because if I would have gone and started cutting with just the tips, I would be making small little cuts and fraying my fabric. And I don't want that. I want a nice, beautiful, smooth cuts. And this is perfect for a fun evening when you're sitting and watching your favorite TV show and enjoying, oh, maybe you're watching video with me, learning how to do something new and exciting. So right there, thank you for watching our videos. I just finished cutting this shape, and I would have go ahead and cut all of the remaining shapes, and once I have them cut, it is going to be time to lay them onto the background to applique. So speaking of a background, this pattern is layer cake friendly, like I said. So grabbing one of our Sonoma layer cakes would be wonderful. In this layer cake you have 42 pieces, so select 30 of your favorites, and I'm gonna grab the top ones because I want the background to be nice and light and crisp and just beautiful. So that's what I'm gonna do for this quilt. And now I'm going to start placing my shapes, and notice I have the paper right here. Just place it to see if it pleases your eye, and I grabbed this accent blues from another pumpkin. Remember, we're gonna mix and match between the pumpkins. Sometimes the pumpkin is gonna be the blue, the shadow is gonna be blue. It's your quilt. You can move things around and make a wonderful matches. Check that everything is laying really nice, it pleases your eye, and I want to stay just about 1 inch from the bottom, 1 inch from the side, 1 inch from this side, and I leave myself a little bit of room right here, just about 3/4 of an inch. So that way when I sew a quarter inch, my pumpkin positions really nice onto my background. And all that I'm going to do with a gentle crease, and notice how I do this, just crease it. Then the paper separates from the fusible webbing. I'm going now pull gently, because you don't want to pull the fusible webbing. You just want to take the paper away. I'm going to pull this away, and look at how the fusible webbing looks now. Isn't it beautiful? Yep, it didn't melt it through the fabric. It gave us a really nice stabilizer for the edges to re-stitch. Now let's go for the stem again. I'm gonna crease it. Look, I pulled this away. Oh, this is so much fun. Oh, I cannot wait to make this pumpkin quilt. It is fall outside, and I can snuggle up in it or display on my couch or hang on my wall. It's gonna be perfect to decorate. This design is super cool also for kids to get involved. If you have grandkids or kids that like to play with fabric, it's a nice large design, and you can do so much fun things with it if you choose a colorful, fun fabrics for the pumpkin. I also seen the pumpkin done in just all different off-whites, so you could have choose this fabric as your pumpkin and you are use a solid gray for the background, and it would have a more modern feel to it if you would like to do it. I love the traditional colors, so big prints, batiks, and in our rolls I have mix and match all of those different fabrics. Those are just some of the choices that I pulled out for today that I made few of the pumpkins with it. So look at this, all our pieces are in place. Now with the same iron you will place right over and press it. And I didn't mention that before when we press it first time. When you're working with fusible webbing, you need to use just dry iron. Only when you use steam seam too, what it's a fusible webbing that requires a little bit of a steam, you should use the steam. But otherwise, if there is a paper, you don't want to use the water and a steam because it crinkles the paper and changes the design for you a little bit. So now dry iron beautifully, press it gently, just enough so it sticks in place. The fusible webbing will not hold your design in place forever and ever. It is your stitches that are going to do that. And notice, I already ironed this one. It looks wonderful. I'm so excited about this pumpkin, and I can't wait to grab my wonderful thread and beautiful non-stick needles, and I chose the needle size 80 for this project because I'm using thread 50 and I'm planning to do a really nice blanket stitch, button stitch around the edges. Oh, I'm so excited about it. And I'm gonna start right here where the stem is on this side, and I'm gonna stitch all the way around right here, come to this pumpkin, come to the bottom of the pumpkin, to the shadow, go ahead, go around the shadow, come back, double stitch this area. So when I come back, we already stitched it, so we just stitch it over again, and we go ahead and finish stitching, go around the stem, come back, and then the thread's gonna be hanging right here. Why did I start here? Because I want to go with one round around it without stopping and cutting any of the threads. And to me, coming down here and stitching over a previous stitch was okay, even though it built up a little bit of a bulk over the design. I rather do that than cut the threads and have threads hanging. So here I come in and just double stitch over the 3 stitches, and it looked just fine. Let me show you. I am so excited. And notice this color of the thread. Like I said, 50 13, 50 13, one of my personal favorite colors. 2370, 50 13, those are the colors that are just gonna blend right into it. And notice it's more like a charcoal gray when you open the thread and just use singular. And look at, I started here, went all the way around up here, and notice it's not too bulky, even that I had to double stitch here, here, come back, and again. If you need to, practice once with your hand, just so you remember. And once you make a one, you're gonna know how to go around it. When you finish stitching, don't forget to pull the threads to the back. And on the back, now I just remember, since I flipped it to the back, use a color to match the background. So when I stitch, I use that light thread for the back. It matched the background for me. And when you set up your machine for stitching, remember, when you see a little dots coming up because you're pulling the thread from the bobbin, that is a sign that you have to lower the tension a little bit, so the top thread goes a little bit more down and you're not pulling your bobbin thread. If you're still doing that, I recommend you put the same color in a bobbin than in a top, and that way you cannot see if you pull up the threads from the bobbin. So I like to match it to the background, so that way it looks nice and clean in the back. but guess what? It's your quilt and you need to adjust it to how it's stitched and quilted and what you're doing at that moment for yourself. Once you have made your block, you're ready to put it into the quilt, and this background is a little bit lighter than what I have it right here. This was from one of the collection that I designed. It's called Pumpkin Pie, and it's an older collection, not available anymore. But guess what? There's so many beautiful fabrics out there, and I can tell you are excited about this larger design. And I want to tell you, if you like this quilt, you also maybe going to like some other projects that we have that are layer cakes friendly. So let me show you some of those. We have a beautiful elephant pattern, dancing umbrella, or butterflies, or the sweet ride as well. Oh, and for every one of those we have those beautiful stencils that I bet you would enjoy it. Let me show you some of the quilts I brought for you. You're gonna spread your wings and fly with me and start making beautiful appliques. And this is a butterfly quilt. Again, we work with layer cakes, and notice the top wings are different color than the bottom. All that I did is draw 4 wings, pressed it to one fabric, and then I swap with different blocks so I have a nice variety, and use the beautiful accent fabric for the center. And notice their little antennas, and on our pumpkin I also have a little bit of like a vine design. In the pattern I included embroidered stitch, just a regular stem stitch. If you want to add this, or you can take a pencil and just draw those with a fabric pencil. Excuse me. Now look at this elephant quilt. Isn't he delightful? How happy and exciting. Perfect for a little baby room. Children will love this. And speaking of children, when you're working with the applique that you're making for a kid's quilt, make sure you always use a cotton thread to finish the edges. Sometimes you can use invisible thread, but I don't recommend for children's quilt. The cotton thread, it's much softer and gentle if a baby is playing with the quilt or laying on it. In no time you're going to be dancing in the rain with umbrella design and this beautiful fall quilt. And this one is another one that it's a layer cake friendly. If you love the pumpkin design, I want to show you this brand new pillow that we just finished for our new book. And this book calls Pillow Talk, and again it has that pumpkin design on it. And in a pillow book you have 25 different pillows, and we have also prepared beautiful kits that you can go ahead and enjoy it. Those kits are already everything. It's trays cut out for you, laser cut your background. All that you do is open a package, applique your pumpkin, and then just focus on doing those beautiful stitches around the edges. I hope you enjoy the pumpkin and a little bit of fusible applique. Please remember, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and I can't wait to show you some more fun, exciting techniques with laundry basket quilts. Happy quilting!